Hello, everybody. We are back from Paris for our Olympic Tennis Daily. I am Christopher Clarey, the longtime tennis writer and global sports correspondent for the New York Times, but I'm now a full-time author, and I wrote The Master on Roger Federer.
Bonjour Chris, bonjour à tous. I'm Romain Vinot, tennis journalist who spends practically all year round at the Roland-Garros Stadium, but which has never looked like this, Chris, during the events.
I know, with the Olympic rings everywhere. At least there's still the red clay, Romain.
Oh,
We're here to talk about the stories and matches of the day. And though it rained on the outside courts for much of day one of competition, it cannot rain on the two main courts happily at Roland Garros. They've got roofs. And the match everybody's still got the buzz about today was the dream team of Rafa Nadal and Carlos Alcaraz playing the Argentine double specialists Maximo Gonzalez and Andres Motene. And they're seated. Nadal Alcaraz, that's what we're going to call him, right? Nadal
yeah.
Alcaraz was not seated, but guess who won? 7-6, 6-4 to the Spaniards. And I can tell you from personal experience, Romain, that this was not your average first-round doubles match at the Olympics or anywhere else. What did you feel out there? You were watching the match.
Oh yeah, it was really amazing, Chris. The crowd was on fire. There was a wave. All the spectators were behind Rafa and Carlitos, and it was nice to see the flag on the ground, and great feeling to see the Spanish team and Alcaraz and Rafa's families together in their box in the stands. And you only had to look at them on their bench to understand their motivation, their understanding, and their state of mind during the match. And yeah, the crowd and it was really amazing to see that on the first day of the Olympics.
Yeah, it's funny because like you, I've been coming to the French Open here for many, many years, and for me, a long time. And they've changed the stadium around, but there's this big, big press area for a lot of print media and TV media to watch the match at the top of the Chatrier Stadium.
Yeah.
And during the French Open, I mean, it's hardly ever full. I mean, you might get it full for a major, major singles match and probably for the men's final, but that might be about it. And I walk in there tonight and it was just packed, completely packed. And I guess in a sense, it makes you think and realize, what the power of the Olympics really is, because yeah, that would be a big match anywhere. And Nadal and Alcaraz are not going to be playing doubles together at a major just because of the way the tennis circuit works. But here they are at the Olympics playing this best of three with a possible match tiebreaker. And that press area was packed. The stadium was packed. And it felt like it was like a gold medal match. And it was the first round. So it just tells you what the Olympic can do and also what star power can do in a lot of ways. And
Yeah.
I think also, let's also think about sort of what role Rafa plays, especially Rafa in France, and honestly, we can talk about last night, because even though Rafa was pretty sweaty today, I think he might have been drier tonight than he was last night riding the boat in the opening ceremony. But for people who don't know, Romain, tell us what happened last night and what you thought about the opening ceremony and all that.
Yeah, last night it was really outstanding, Chris. It was my first opening ceremony, and I was in the center of Paris, and all the bars, the restaurants were showing the ceremony on their screens, and you could hear in the street the cheers and applause from the crowd. It was really an extraordinary moment of communion, and after that, if I just take a word on the show, it was, with all the scenes, the lighting effects, the artist, the music, it was all a success. And I think it will be a moment that will live long in everyone's memories. And of course, we have to talk about Rafa, Chris, because it was one of the incredible moments in this ceremony with Zidane, of course.
Well, I just have to say, I mean, how crazy is it that a Spaniard, much as I like Spain and I know how much, the French like going to Spain and all that. But how crazy was it that a Spaniard was one of the key people? He wasn't, the final bearer of the flame, but he was obviously very prominent, and he's taken the flame from Zidane with a huge smile on his face. But what does that say, that a Spaniard is able to play that kind of a role, and it seems like the right thing to do in a opening ceremony for the Olympics in Paris? I mean, I guess this is the same guy who's got a statue of himself in Roland Garros, which is,
Yeah.
the French Open's biggest honor, and the Spaniard has that too. So I just thought that was so telling, and I can only imagine what it meant to Rafa to have that opportunity. And it was just, to me, a very powerful thing as a foreigner to watch it. Some of it I thought was very inside Paris, inside France, but it was an amazing reinvention, despite that horrible weather, of an Olympic ceremony. I think personally, it was close to genius at times in the way they used the river and everything else. But above all, Romain, from a tennis perspective, what a night for tennis to be able to have Rafa grab that flame, hop on the boat, take it up toward the Place de la Concorde with Serena Williams in the boat with Carl Lewis and Adi Comaneci. And then who do they hand it off to but Amelie Mauresmo? So there was tennis kind of everywhere at the end. And what do you think that says about tennis in the Olympics?
Yeah, it's like a very important discipline on the Olympics when you saw that, and it was like you said at the end of the ceremony. So it's really important. It's really big to be here at this stage of the ceremony, and to see a French legend like Zidane just give to the flame to Rafa, just like his first trophy at Roland Garros in 2005. We are already old, Chris, because it was too many years ago, and yeah, it was really great. And for the tennis, you're right, because when I just saw Serena on the boat, I was like, oh yeah, it's big with the two on the same boat. And after that, give to Amelie. Amelie works a lot for the tennis development, and yeah, I think she was proud to be here too. So yeah, for the tennis, it was really big yesterday night. Yeah.
So, Rafa's fired up for most matches that he plays in tennis, but I think he was even more fired up after what happened last night to go out there and play today in front of this packed stadium. So, what did you see in the quality of play from Nadal Alcaraz in their very first match together?
Yeah, I think it was really interesting to see both on court, because we just saw maybe one or two practice with both of them, and Rafa still has his technique at the net, his lasso forehand along the lines. Yeah, nothing changed for that. And it was funny because at some point in the first set, maybe at the beginning of the match, Alcaraz appeared like maybe a little shy, like I don't know how I say that, maybe like a little brother, blaming himself for making a mistake. Yeah, and Rafa constantly encouraging him, and of course after that Alcaraz raised his level, particularly sorry at the net. So yeah, they show their fighting spirit at the end of the first set, in the tiebreak, of course, and at the start of the second one, because they came back from 3-0 to 3-3, Chris. It was really a big match for them.
Yeah, they were in trouble at different times. They were down that break in the second set, and also the first set was 3-all in the tiebreaker, and Alcaraz had to save some break points on his serve. We forget Alcaraz seems like he's already a monument in tennis. He's 21 years old, and this is his first Olympics. This was his first day of Olympic tennis. So
Yeah.
as cool as he is and how great he plays, I'm sure that was not lost on him. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But let's just talk about Nadal, because there have been some doubts about him. He was wearing the wrap around his right leg, upper right leg today. He looked to me like he moved pretty well. I saw him pull back a couple of times on drop shots, things like that. He just made it clear through his team that he's not 100% certain to play. He's scheduled to play tomorrow against Martin Kushevich on Chatrier, and I think he's going to play. It's my guess from watching today, but you don't know for sure. And I think it was funny because if he does win, guess who he'll play in the second round?
Yeah.
Novak Djokovic,
Yeah.
who won today. And Nadal was asked as he was at the mixed zone, which is the Olympic sort of press area afterward, and he was asked about by a Serbian journalist, are you looking forward to the last dance with Novak? And Rafa turns around and goes, "Who said it was the last dance?" So
Yeah.
who knows what's going to happen here? But I think it's pretty crazy. But if he doesn't play, Romain,
Yeah.
the problem is it's very late now, and it's going to be really, really hard to probably find an alternate to be able to play against Vucevic if Rafa pulls out of that singles match. One of the
Yeah.
reasons why I think he will play, I don't think he wants to do that to the organizers, but it does create some interesting issues, doesn't it? So maybe you could take us through what happened today, because you had two guys who were alternates playing, on the
Yeah.
opening day of the Olympics.
Yeah. Do you want to play, Chris, tomorrow if Rafa?
I wouldn't do as well as Matt Ebden did today. I can tell you that against Djokovic. But I just think it's one of the things about the Olympics that's a little bit tricky, isn't it? Because they've got a situation where they have a locked-in draw. You have a deadline for people being able to pull out when you can bring somebody new into the Olympics as an outsider. And that was a week ago. So anybody who pulls out within a week of the Olympics, you got to use players who are already on site. And
Yeah.
so today we had Djokovic playing against Matt Ebden, who's a double specialist in his 30s, who doesn't even have a singles ranking. And then on Lenglen court around the same time, you had Habib Hadi from Lebanon playing against Alcaraz. And Hadi is got at least got a singles ranking in the 200s, and he got to the final of a challenger recently. So he was more of a singles player, but it is interesting. So what did you see on Chatrier watching Djokovic and Ebden?
Yeah. I think it was not the same match. On one side, I think it was nice to see, the Ebden celebration when he scored a game, because he was pushed by the crowd and he received a standing ovation. Everyone was smiling on the stadium, and maybe it's the beauty of the Olympic, but he wasn't there to win. I think he didn't even think he would play in the singles until Holger Rune withdrew. So it was a really weird situation. And yeah, he said that on the mix zone. He just said, I wasn't coming here to play singles, but my wife said also I've never officially retired from single. So yeah, it was pretty weird, but. Like you said, not the same match because there is a real match between Alcaraz and his opponent.
Yeah, I mean, Hadi also was, I think, very surprised to be here. He didn't think he'd even be in the Olympics 4 weeks ago, but because of the universality place, his partner in doubles was able to get him in from Lebanon, which is not obviously a main line tennis nation. So he came here thinking he'd be delighted to be in the doubles, and that was it. But then, because of the situation with the season and the injuries, Hubie Hurkacz pulled out within that 7-day window. So they had to find an alternate out of the doubles draw, and Hadi actually has the highest singles ranking at 275 or so, the guys who were left. And
Yeah.
so he ends up playing singles, which was the shock of his life, I think. And he had to go run out and start practicing. And I thought the guy, he said he was visualizing about how to handle a situation he'd never been in. He's never been to Roland Garros before. He's never played in a major, any of that stuff. He was a fine college player at Texas A&M, had a good career, but this is a whole different thing. And I thought he did an amazing job personally from being on court of handling the moment. He held serve quite often. He's got a big serve. Obviously, the rest of his game isn't up to Alcaraz's level, but he made it competitive and very interesting. And it was very emotional. And the crowd got behind him really powerfully from the very beginning of the match. I think they sensed he could be blown out, and they really gave him strength to fight and play some really compelling tennis. But the thing is, afterward, I went to the mix zone, and Djokovic was very nice about it, and he was very gracious. But I think he said, honestly, I think the rule needs to be changed because you shouldn't be playing a guy who's got no singles ranking in the Olympics. I mean, in his sense, it was not good for the sport or good for the event to have that happen. It's an interesting debate. It's very tricky because of that week cutoff date. The International Tennis Federation's point of view is you want to have matches. You don't want to have dead spots in the draw and walkovers. I don't know. Romain, do you have a quick take on that? What you think about what the right thing to do is there?
Yeah, I don't know because it was nice to see him and Hebden was funny and was cool with that. He just said, I never played Chatrier and never played Novak. It was like a miracle happened at his age. But yeah, maybe you're right for the competition or the tournament. It was a little weird to see him in single, but yeah, it was it was not maybe a really good test for Novak. And as you said before, maybe the second match will be better and better level for him, of course.
It's interesting though, isn't it? Because I mean, honestly, it was 6-3, 6-1 Alcaraz on Lenglen court, pretty
Yeah.
lopsided match in scoreline. But I think the idea that Paddy's from Lebanon, and that's a country doesn't usually get a spot in the spotlight in the other tournaments of tennis. It seemed like a good use of a universality place to give Lebanon that moment in the sun, especially as well as he played. It could really
Yeah.
grow the game. I don't know how much it grows the game to have Matt Edmund, who's a great guy and a great doubles player, playing singles from Australia. I don't think that does a whole lot of growth for the sport. So that's where I'd leave it. But I wouldn't be surprised, based on Novak's reaction, that there is some more discussion about this
Yeah.
and the possibility of a change. There wasn't a lot of tennis played today, Romain, because of the heavy rain that canceled all the matches on the outside courts, which is a lot to make up tomorrow. But there were some women's matches, and I know you watched a couple of them. So why don't you give us your impressions about the women's side of the draw today?
Yeah, it was like you said, a little late, little day for this first one, and yeah, I saw a little Iga. It's for her, it's obviously a big goal, and she's the favorite of the draw, and but maybe she was a little stressful anyway because it was more difficult than expected for her. If you look at the stat, yeah, it was not expected, and but maybe in any tournament, Iga may need a match to fully enter the competition, and Chris, let's not forget that she hasn't played since her elimination in the third round of Wimbledon. So yeah, maybe she needs time to.
Yeah, she still won in straight sets, so it's not to exaggerate it, but I can see your point of view. Hey, well, now we're getting a little short on time, so let's just look a little bit ahead at tomorrow.
Yeah.
The ITF have launched a World Tennis Predictor game. You have to choose a winner from 3 matches each day. If you make the most correct picks at the end of the event, you will win some amazing prizes. I'm not sure how amazing or what they are going to be, but I'd love to know. And tomorrow's picks, the 3 matches are Coco Gauff versus Ayla Tomljanovic, Lorenzo Musetti versus Gael Monfils, and Daniel and Nishikori against Daniel Evans and Andy Murray in what could be Murray's final match. He is going to retire after the Olympics, and this is his only event.
Yeah.
But the match that jumps out at me from that schedule is Lorenzo Musetti against Gael Monfils. I know you agree. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's pretty weird because actually Lorenzo Musetti played against Francisco Cerundolo at UMAG, and it's Saturday night, and
In
he has
Croatia, in Croatia.
yeah, in Croatia, and Saturday night, and tomorrow he has to be in Paris to play the Olympics. It's a weirdest situation on the draw. I'm French, Chris. You know that, and maybe it's a pretty good news for Gael. I don't know, but yeah, pretty weird, and good luck to to predict the result of this match. Yeah, good luck.
Yeah, both Musetti and Cerundolo have to, it's right now it's almost 10:30 or it's 10:30 or so, and it's they haven't finished their final in Croatia. So they got to finish, do everything they have to do, get themselves here, get themselves into their Olympic mode with the credentialing, and we all know that can be complicated. And then they have to get to the court, and they're both supposed to play around 6 p.m.
Yeah.
tomorrow here. So honestly, that's cutting it a little bit tight. I can't imagine that the Argentine and Italian teams are loving that scenario too much.
Yeah.
A lot of things can go wrong, but it is a heck of an interesting story, and the Olympics are all about that, and so we'll see what happens. And right now, as we're finishing up here, there's a pretty crazy potential farewell match going on the Chatrier court with Naomi Osaka playing Angie Kerber, and Kerber actually is surprisingly, despite some not so great results recently, she's actually ahead up a set and in position perhaps to win the match. So pretty remarkable on her part to fight like that.
Yeah, we have to go on the ground, Chris, I think, to to see the end of this beautiful match. Yeah.
Absolutely, Romain. Well, it's been great talking to you. Thanks to all our listeners. This is a new thing for us. I hope you'll help us build it, and it's been a wonderful experience so far. So good night from Paris.
Yeah, good night to all.